Right, good afternoon, a very warm welcome to you all. You're tuned in to the Community Hour here on Awaaz FM Community Radio. The Community Hour today comes to you via Zoom. I have in the studio via Zoom some very special guests, and today the topic of the day that we are going to be talking about is diabetes. And diabetes is growing more and more in the Asian community, particularly in the South Asian community. With me in the studio, I have my guest as a community leader and also working for Crawley CCG, Arif, but also I have from Diabetes UK, Emma. A very good afternoon to you both.
Hi there.
Well, good afternoon. Can
Okay.
I just correct the Crawley CCG has ceased and is now became West Sussex CCG, and which I am not part of. But the Crawley CCG became redundant in March of the last year.
My apologies. Thank you for the correction. Emma, you're from Diabetes UK. Tell us a little bit about your role.
Yeah, so I'm a senior clinical advisor at Diabetes UK and a registered dietitian. So our team are kind of involved in putting together all of the clinical information for people with diabetes. But as a charity, we kind of do advocacy and supporting people living with diabetes, and also helping people to reduce their risk of type 2 and gestational diabetes.
Now, explain to me, what is diabetes?
Yeah, so there are a few different types of diabetes. The most common ones are type 1 and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is where your body doesn't produce any of a hormone called insulin, and it means that your blood glucose levels can be very high. And in type 2 diabetes, you either don't produce enough insulin, or the insulin that you do produce isn't working properly. So again, your blood glucose levels can become quite high. All types of diabetes can be quite serious if they're not managed properly, and can lead to some really devastating complications. So it's really important for people to get all the support and correct treatment and management that they need in order to manage their condition effectively.
So how do people get the diabetes? I mean, there's lots of things that people are saying about whether it's genetically inherited or whether it's to do with your diet. What is the way that, how do people end up getting diabetes?
Yeah, so type 1 diabetes is actually an autoimmune condition. So we don't know exactly what causes that and what triggers that immune response. But we do know that it's not linked to lifestyle at all. In type 2 diabetes, there are several different risk factors for getting the condition. And they include things like age, certain ethnic background, family history of the condition, but also weight and waist circumference are important risk factors as well.
So if a member of my family has got it, am I likely to get it?
So yes, in type 2 diabetes, if someone in your family, so a first degree relative, maybe your mum or your dad or a sibling, if they have diabetes, then it can increase your risk of getting type 2 diabetes, yeah.
Okay, so talk me through about the type 1 diabetes. What are the type of people that are most likely to get type 1?
So, yeah, type 1 diabetes is most common in children and younger people. And it used to be known as a condition that just occurred in that age group. It still is the most common type in children, but we do see some people, some adults and older people that are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes now. It's not as common as type 2 in older people, but there are some cases where people of an older age or adults can be diagnosed with type 1.
Okay, and type 2?
Type 2 is mainly kind of in adults, and it is more common in certain ethnic backgrounds. So South Asian, Black African, African Caribbean ethnicities are more likely to get type 2 diabetes. and is certainly more prevalent in sort of after the age of 40. But again, we are now seeing some children and younger people, younger adults being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes as well. And that type of variant of type 2 diabetes seems to be a more aggressive form of this condition. There's around 7,000 children and young people that have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes at the moment. So we're still learning more about that. And yes, as I say, it seems to be a more aggressive form of type 2 diabetes.
So research shows that it's more common in South Asian people. Is there a reason for this?
It could be linked to potentially where fat is stored in the body. So kind of where people of South Asian background are more likely to store fat, and that can be particularly around the middle, which means that you can have fat around certain organs like the pancreas and liver, which can then increase your risk of getting insulin resistance, which is where the insulin that your body produces to help your glucose move from your blood into your cells, it means that insulin doesn't work properly, so your blood glucose levels tend to be or can be higher. So there could be a link with that particular kind of predisposition where fat is stored in.
Now, can you explain why some people they'll get diabetes, in this country, but the equivalent back home in India, Pakistan, or people of South Asian origin, it's not so prevalent there?
Okay, so yeah, so it can be, so type 2 diabetes can be linked to diet and lifestyle, and also kind of, as I said, kind of body weight as well. So it could be that there's a difference in food intake, the types of foods that people are having, also kind of how active people are as well, and the kind of westernized sort of culture. And there may be a slight link between that as one of the contributing factors that might be sort of telling us that there's a difference depending on where you live.
Is it more to do with our sort of sedentary lifestyle?
Yeah, so we know that if we sit for long periods of time and we're less active, so as you say, sedentary, that's associated with an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. But also there's a slight difference between being sedentary and not meeting the recommendations for physical activity. So there's the two things both can contribute to an associated increased risk of type 2 diabetes.
We spoke a little bit earlier on about the risk factors and the indicators of type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So what sort of things should I be looking out for? Yeah,
so for type 2 diabetes, you can take our online Know Your Risk tool, which is a calculator that asks 7 questions about the different risk factors for type 2 diabetes, and it gives you a personalised risk level. And I would also encourage people to look out for the symptoms of diabetes. So they are being very tired, being extremely thirsty, potentially kind of losing weight without meaning to, and also going to the toilet more often. So looking out for those symptoms, being aware of those, and if you do notice any of those symptoms, seeking help from your GP surgery as soon as possible.
Is there anything that I can do that would help prevent me falling into that category?
Yes, so we can't prevent type 1 diabetes at the moment, but for type 2 diabetes, you can look at kind of what's happening with your weight, and trying to, so if you currently don't have your weight sitting within a healthy BMI, you could look at getting some support to lose some weight, and also looking at making healthier food choices. We have some tips on our website about healthy food choices to help prevent type 2 diabetes, and also looking at how much activity you're doing throughout the day, trying to break up those periods of sitting and trying to build up your general activity levels as well.
And you spoke a little bit about, you touched on it just about the type of support that's available. Yeah. Can you talk me through the support that Diabetes UK are giving out?
Yes, so we do have a helpline. So we've got a dedicated helpline where we have advisors that can talk through any concerns and questions that you have. Our website has lots of information about prevention of type 2 diabetes, but also about all types of managing all types of diabetes as well. So the website's a good place to start. And if you are living with diabetes, we have an online education platform called Learning Zone that you can log into and get some sort of more personalised information about how to look after your type of diabetes. I would also say if you are at risk of type 2 diabetes, so you're not yet diagnosed but you are at risk, there is the National Diabetes Prevention Programme as well, which is there to help people reduce their risk of type 2 diabetes.
And what sort of service can I expect from my GP?
Your GP, if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes, they may well refer you onto the prevention programme that I mentioned, and they can also refer you to weight management services, and they're there to act as a support for helping you manage your condition if you have diabetes diagnosed already. Particularly for type 2 diabetes, your GP can help you with your sort of annual review, so that's doing your yearly checks to see how you're managing your diabetes and helping you look after your medications. If you're living with type 1 diabetes, you're likely to be seen more in a secondary care setting where you might have a specialist diabetes nurse and consultant that helping you look after your condition.
And finally, if I could just ask, if a member of my family has type 1 or type 2 diabetes, as a family member, what can I do to support?
I would say it's really helpful for you to kind of also learn a bit more about what the condition is. So you could also look at our website to get a bit more of an understanding of the condition. And it's also important to be there as a sort of an emotional support for the person that's living with a condition. They're generally having to manage it by themselves for the majority of the time without lots of interaction with healthcare professionals. So being there to provide that kind of emotional support and kind of getting people through that kind of daily management of their condition is really important.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add?
I would just say if you are looking for some help and support, whether it be preventing or managing diabetes, go online to our website or give our helpline a call. And we also have a range of different forums as well that people can get some peer support from other people living with the condition as well.
Can I just clarify, Diabetes UK is specific to a particular area, or is it UK-wide?
Yeah, UK-wide. So we have regional and national offices, but the charity as a whole is UK-wide. Yeah.
Okay, and the website address again?
It's www.diabetes.org.uk.
That's brilliant. Emma, thank you so much. I know you have to run off, so I'm conscious of time. But thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I have a question for Emma.
Okay, sure.
Right. I'm saying, Emma, you also published the information regarding how to manage your diabetes during the month of Ramadan.
We do, yes, that's correct.
Could you say something about that, please?
Yeah, sure. So, so Ramadan is coming up very soon. So we will have some information going out in the press, and we'll have a page on the website. We usually have that information available as a downloadable leaflet as well. So that's just to help people with making sure they stay safe if they do choose to fast.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Ari, for bringing that up. Thank you very much, Emma.
All right, thanks then. Bye.
Bye-bye. आरिफ साहब अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
सर कैसे हैं आप?
मैं बहुत अच्छा हूँ, आप ठीक हैं?
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, आपकी दुआएं। तो सर सबसे पहले तो आपसे पूछ रहे हैं कि आप कुछ अपने बारे में कुछ बताएं।
जी, मैं जनाब पाकिस्तान से ओरिजिन हूँ। कराची के पास एक जगह है सिंध के अंदर, हैदराबाद सिंध। It is the third largest city in Pakistan, used to be. So I born and brought up there. Then in 1978, I came to UK for further education, and I've been here ever since. So I am a qualified accountant, and I have educated here in Brighton University carried on for MBA and another master's degree. And then I started a career in the local government, and I retired in 2013 at a very senior level. And then I endeavor into the supporting the communities and the family as well. And I have two children, right? My son is under GP training in Poole, Dorset. And my daughter, you already met her, she's a pharmacist. So hence, I moved into the health division. I had the work for the Worthing Health Authority many, many years ago, a couple of years in between careers in the local government. And also have supported the Keep Britain Tidy group, which was the Tidy Britain group called now. So I have supported them for 5 years. And as a result of that, I was given the Queen's Mother Birthday Award. So that was a community. I have a community work embedded in my bloodline. And yes, and in 2005, I was elected as the chairman of my local mosque, which we extended the services and the building, because I'm a stronger believer, when I was in the local government, that some of the lasting change you can actually bring about through infrastructure. And that's what we did here in Crawley, is develop a very large mosque. Alhamdulillah, ये जो है तकरीबन 1500 से 2000 लोगों को accommodate कर लेता है. एक चीज़ जो है वो I am really proud of, वो जो है हम जो है यहाँ पे funeral service जो है पिछले 6 साल से free of cost कर रहे हैं. और हमने मस्जिद के अंदर जो है वो मोटरी बनाई है. हमारे पास वो अपना व्हीकल्स हैं, फ्यूनरल डायरेक्टर का पूरा लाइसेंस है, और सारी हर्स और एम्बुलेंसेज ये सब. तो जब कोविड-19 स्टार्ट हुआ तो it was just ready and waiting the service, and the rate of that वो हमारी कम्युनिटी में जो है ना अली साहब is much higher, disproportionately as compared to host nation. We just say, for example, I got the data of January just published a few days ago. We done 30 deaths and processed 30 funerals in just 1 month. That's normally we do it in about 5 years in a normal circumstances. So that's just in 1 month. And similar figure was in December. It was less, about 20, and a little bit less in the month before. So we have a local कब्रिस्तान जो है हमारा यहाँ का इस्लामिक उन्होंने कौंसिल ने बनाया था, हमें they given a portion of it. तो वो जो है ना complete almost is what they thought is going to last 25 years. I think it won't even last about 2 years now, if this thing is continued this way. So ये जो है disproportionately we are affected, and in the same way हम जो है diabetes भी जो है वो हमें disproportionately ज़्यादा affect करती है हमारी community की, खास तौर से Muslim community को, क्योंकि हमारी जो है एक quite a substantial majority जो है substantial element of population जो है they are into transport systems, and transport systems is basically sitting down mostly, and lack of exercise, and the long and uneven hours हैं, और जो है वो डाइट कंट्रोल भी मुश्किल हो जाती है क्योंकि घर के खाने वगैरह का.
आयुष साहब, आपकी बातों से पता चलता है कि माशाल्लाह आपने बहुत काम किया है कम्युनिटी के लिए, स्टार्टिंग से लेकर अभी तक आप कर रहे हैं. तो माशाल्लाह आपने बहुत ज़्यादा काम किया है. तो सबसे पहले तो आपको मुबारकबाद देता हूँ इस बात के ऊपर. और दूसरी बात यह है कि आज का मौजू जो है वो हम डायबिटीज़ के ऊपर बात कर रहे हैं. तो जब आप पाकिस्तान से यहाँ आए थे तो उस वक्त आपकी नॉलेज कितनी थी डायबिटीज़ के ऊपर?
Almost nil. Basically I was मुझे पता था कि डायबिटीज़ जो है ये शुगर हमारे मुल्कों में कहलाई जाती है, कि शुगर की बीमारी के नाम से लोग इसको रेफर करते हैं। मुझे पता था कि एक दो लोग थे जिनको मैं जानता था, फ्रेंड ऑफ द फ्रेंड, हमारे वालिद के जानने वाले, उनमें से एक साहब को थी डायबिटीज, शुगर की बीमारी कहलाती है, मगर मैं ये समझा था कि ये मुझे कभी नहीं होगी। I don't know why. I always believe that.
अक्सर हम ऐसे ही कहते हैं कि ये मुझे नहीं कभी होगा।
जी जी जी।
लेकिन हम थोड़ा सा लापरवाह हो जाते हैं और थोड़ा सा हम सोचते नहीं है कि इसकी वजह क्या है, ये किस तरह शुरू होता है, किस तरह हम इस डायबिटीज का, तो आपके समझ में क्या है कि ये किस तरह स्टार्ट होता है?
ये जो है मेरा अपना पर्सनल टेक जो है वो इज मोस्टली प्रॉब्ली अबाउट 50% लाइफ स्टाइल और 50% हमारी डाइट। डाइट इज अ लाइफ स्टाइल, अ लैक ऑफ एक्सरसाइज, और वो और 50% जो है हो सकता है कि कुछ जेनेटिक्स हो जो इनहेरिटेड हुए हों, मगर मेरी फैमिली में, इमीडिएट फैमिली में किसी को भी डायबिटीज नहीं थी, ना मेरी अम्मी को, ना मेरे वालिद को, ना मेरे सिबलिंग्स को, ना मेरे चचाओं को, ना मेरी खालाओं को या फूफियों को। मेरे वालिद को जो है तकरीबन 73 ईयर ओल्ड थे तो जब उनको जो है वो टाइप 2 डायबिटीज हुई थी, और जो है इसके अलावा कोई हिस्ट्री नहीं है हमारी। ये मुझे नहीं पता कि उससे पहले की जनरेशन में क्या था, हो सकता है दादा उनके भाइयों में हो, मगर जैसे आपने अभी बोला था एमा के इंटरव्यू में कि इट्स नॉट वेरी प्रिवलेंट in our back home, right? Yes, it does exist and it is on the rise, there is no doubt about it, but it is not as prevalent.
क्या ये मुमकिन है कि हमारे मुल्क में ये प्रिवेलेंट है, डायबिटीज है, लेकिन क्योंकि हम उसको समझ नहीं पा रहे, हम हमारे अल्फाजों में, हमारे वोकैबुलरी में कोई ऐसा अल्फाज नहीं है, हम स्ट्रेट अवे उसको शुगर कहते हैं, तो मे बी कि हमें समझ नहीं है, इसलिए हम सोचते भी नहीं है कि भाई हमें ये डायबिटीज हो गया, बिकॉज वी हैव नो पर्टिकुलर वर्ड फॉर इट।
जी जी जी, हाँ, वो शुगर की बीमारी से ही कहलाता है और ये है, मगर क्या हो रहा है कि अब पहले का लाइफ स्टाइल जो है थोड़ा सा चेंज हो रहा है हमारे मुल्कों में भी। अब जो है पहले हर चीज़ जो है वॉक की जाती थी और खाने पीने की चीज़ें जो थी वो सब ऑर्गेनिक थी, और जो है तेल जो था जिसको कड़वा तेल बोला जाता है वो काफ़ी इस्तेमाल होता था। तो ये सारी चीज़ें जो हैं स्लोली चेंज हुई, और फिर जो है हमारे यहाँ एक कॉन्सेप्ट था वो असली घी का, और वो ये सारी चीज़ें जो हैं ये सब्स्टिट्यूट होती चली जा रही हैं वहाँ पे भी, और लोग जो है वॉकिंग इज़ द मेन एक्सरसाइज थी हमारे यहाँ, और मेहनत थी कि मुझे अच्छी तरह याद है कि हम जब अपने घर में हमारे पास हैंड पंप होता था पानी का, तो वही हैंड से ऊपर नीचे करके वही एक्सरसाइज हो जाती थी, और जो है ये सारी लाइफ स्टाइल जो है वो चेंजेस हो रहे हैं। तो ये मैं नहीं समझता कि ये एक वाहिद कम्बिनेशन है, इससे कम्बिनेशन ऑफ वेरियस थिंग के हो सकता है वहाँ पे लैक ऑफ अवेयरनेस भी हो, डायग्नोसिस भी जो है वो नहीं है, और फिर दूसरी बात लाइफ स्टाइल भी चेंज हो रहा है, तो उसकी वजह
बात आप कर रहे थे लाइफ स्टाइल की, तो आजकल की जो लाइफ स्टाइल है आपने बिल्कुल दुरुस्त फरमाया कि लाइफ स्टाइल बहुत ज़्यादा बदल गई है, बहुत ज़्यादा चेंजेस हो गए, तब्दीली आ गई उसमें, तो कौन सी ज़्यादा चेंजेस आ गए हैं आपकी नज़र में?
कहाँ पे? बैक होम?
इधर
जो है वो it's just becoming the food is the main thing. Is all processed food is readily available. It's convenient and easy, like McDonald's and so forth. Right, that's affecting. Less families are cooking less. Right, from raw, they're always getting some sort of processed food. That's one element which is changing, and is also the fast life that everybody has to put long hours, especially the office-based people. Right, so you are in front of a computer, hardly moving. Right, whole day, 9 9-hour, 10-hour average work. Or being from the South Asian background, you have to prove yourself a little bit more than your host nation. So there's an element of that as well. So yes, it is transport is door to door, right? Easy car. Normally people have, from home to their workplace. So that's also affecting. The food which is available is not organic, it's fast grown, even when you get fruit and vegetables as well. So that is, plus we don't eat that much balanced diet either. So that's also has element of it. It's predominantly our chapatis and our salan or जो है वो उसका जो that is the main source, or चावल राइस. तो ये चीजें भी जो है अफेक्ट हैं. तो
लेकिन हम लोग कहते हैं कि इसी में जायका है हमारे लिए.
जी हाँ, ये है तो ना you can ये तो this is where the education comes in, and we have run some programs right locally through our mosque and what we call healthy cooking and healthy eating clubs. So हम जो है वेजिटेबल से भी जायका क्रिएट कर सकते हैं. अब हमारे वहाँ पे बैक होम गांव और देहात में जो है हम 6 दिन वेजिटेबल खाते हैं, 1 या 2 दिन ही गोश्त खाया जाता है वहाँ पे. You can cook at tasty meals, right? और जायका क्रिएट किया जा सकता है वेजिटेबल से भी. तो नॉर्मली ये है कि we just have to make some adjustments in our life in order to eat more vegetables and fruit.
अब बात करते हैं कि आपके बारे में. तो आपको सबसे पहले कब पता चला था?
मुझे जो है ये 1994 के अंदर जो है वो डायग्नोस हुई थी कि आई हैव अ डायबिटीज. द सिम्टम्स वो थे जैसे हमें बता के गई है कि आई वाज गेटिंग लेथर्जिक, मोर टायर्ड, एंड जो है वो क्या नाम है वाज फीलिंग वेरी थर्स्टी एट नाइट. So as a result of that, and then these symptoms were there, but that is not the reason why my diabetes was diagnosed. It was diagnosed because I went to the operation for hernia, and they said that we need to do your blood test as a routine, and that's where they discovered that I have diabetes type 2. So first year they tried to manage it with the diet, and after that they put me onto the pill, right? And I stayed on the pill about 3-4 years. Then I was fortunate that I started studying the diabetes and so forth, and मुझे पता था कि ये जो है progressive disease है. It's only going to get worse over the period of time, and eventually I will end up in insulin. तो मेरे ख्याल से मैं on the 5th year I decided that I'm going to go on to insulin. I'm not going to mess about with the tablets. So I went on the insulin, and as a result of it, with some adjustment, अपने खाने पकाने में और खाना खाने में, my wife was very supportive. That's the one of the question you asked, how family can do the supporting and managing diabetes. I think the family can play a major role. It's just that they need to understand what is your conditions are and how to cook the meal for you.
तो जिस वक्त आपको पता चला उसके बाद आपके उस दौरान आपकी फैमिली को कितना मालूमात था इस डायबिटीज के ऊपर?
My children were quite young, very young indeed. So it was my wife, right? And me and her just going through with the research. She became very interested in the healthy cooking. She joined few Asian healthy cooking clubs. Right, and then she became instructor and start passing on that knowledge, and she practiced that at home.
So कुछ फायदा भी हुआ?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, I almost leading a very normal life, right? As a result of it, alhamdulillah, मेरी diabetes जो है वो control and manage है.
तो आपको support चलो वाइफ से फैमिली से आपको सपोर्ट मिला, तो आउटसाइड सपोर्ट आपको कितना मिला, कहाँ से मिला?
आउटसाइड सपोर्ट मुझे जो है जीपी एमा बता रही थी कि दे मॉनिटर वंस अ ईयर, बट या तो मैं फॉर्चुनेट हूँ या शी थिंग्स हैज मूव्ड ऑन. मेरी डायबिटीज जो है वो मैं मॉनिटर होती है एवरी 3 months. So every 3 months वो जो blood long term blood sugar level check करते हैं, HbA1c कहलाता है मेरे ख्याल से वो, है ना? HbA1c. So every 3 months, so it is a very good indicator that how your diabetes is moving. फिर उसके साथ साथ जो है तमाम full blood test होते हैं routine में. Some they do 3 months, some they do 6 months, and there are some they only do once a year. So as a result of that, the outside support is there, and the most important thing is where the most of the people really fall off is that when you are on insulin or when you are in tablet, tablet is fixed, but insulin is variable. Right, and you should master the technique, and that's where your help of your external support and your family support comes in to work it out that you have had आपने अभी खाना खाया है, अब आपको कितने यूनिट्स जो है इंसुलिन लगाना है. अगर ज़्यादा लगा लेंगे तो आपको जो है वो तो व्हाट इज कॉल्ड हाइपो हो जाएगा, कम लगाएंगे तो वो जो है शुगर लेवल हाई होगा, लॉन्ग टर्म डैमेज होगा. अगर आप फिक्स्ड अमाउंट लगाएंगे तो फिर आपका जब आपको महसूस होगा कि मेरी जो है शुगर कम हो रही है तो आप खाएंगे खाना, उससे जो है आपको वेट गेन करेंगे. और अगर आप नहीं खाएंगे तो फिर जो है वो हाइपो होगा, उससे लॉन्ग टर्म जो है अफेक्ट्स हैं उसके भी. तो इधर फैमिली का जो है वो बड़ा साथ होता है कि आपने 2 रोटी खाई है आज, तो इसके लिए जो है कितनी एडजस्टमेंट करनी है. दे विल यू नीड टू, दिस इज समथिंग यू हैव टू डेवलप योरसेल्फ, ट्राई एंड एरर. ये कोई इसका फार्मूला नहीं है.
अब आप बात कर रहे थे फैमिली सपोर्ट और आउटसाइड सपोर्ट और साथ साथ खाने का. आपके ख्याल में कि सबसे बेहतर खाना वो फॉर डायबिटीज का जो मरीज हो उसके लिए सबसे बेहतर बैलेंस्ड खाना जो है वो क्या होगा?
The 1/3 vegetable on your plate, 1/3 जो हम जिसको बोलते हैं करी, और 1/3 जो है कार्बोहाइड्रेट, वेदर वो राइस हो या वो रोटी हो, तो उसको जो है उसमें. एंड यू कैन ऑल्सो टेक इन मॉडरेशन द स्वीट. इट्स नॉट एज इफ completely off something. Everything you can work it out that this is what you're going to do. When you are not eating any carbohydrates, which are the days when you can fill yourself without the carbohydrates, then you can take a little bit modest portion of the sweet.
आपकी जिंदगी में बहुत से डिस्ट्रप्शन आए होगी इसकी वजह से, और बहुत से आपको चेंजेस करने होंगे इस डायबिटीज की वजह से. क्या कुछ आपको डिस्टर्बेंस हुई है और क्या कुछ आपने एडजस्ट किया है?
मैं जो था थोड़ा फॉर्चुनेट था कि मैंने चाय में कभी भी शुगर नहीं पी, नेवर फ्रॉम द चाइल्डहुड. तो मोस्ट पीपल फाइंड दैट वेरी डिफिकल्ट, मगर फिर उसकी सब्स्टिट्यूट्स हैं, दे मैनेज इट. तो वो मेरे लिए कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी कि नॉट ईटिंग स्वीट्स वाज एन मेजर इशू फॉर मी, क्योंकि मैं ज़्यादा खाता ही नहीं था. बट इनफैक्ट जब से मेरी डायबिटीज़ डायग्नोज हुई तो वो साइकोलॉजिकल फैक्टर, यू कांट हैव दिस सो यू टेम्प टू हैव टेम्पटेशन फॉर दैट, सो दैट इज समटाइम्स विल पावर यूज़ करना पड़ता है. दूसरी चीज़ ये थी कि आई वॉज ए स्मोकर. And they all told me that I have to give up smoking, otherwise that will lead to further complications. That was the toughest thing for me to do, I must admit. But then again, I have a help and support. Everything there is a lot of help and support. All you got to do is just to go out and get it. तो उसकी वजह से जो है थोड़ी सी मुझे फिर जब हेल्प मैंने लेने शुरू की, उसमें जो है वो काउंसलिंग एंड सम वो जो आती हैं चीज़ें, मेरे ख्याल से निकोटीन सब्स्टिट्यूट्स, patches and all sorts of things available, they start easing off the burden and pressure. तीसरी जो चीज़ जो थी जो मेरे में फ़र्क आया जो नहीं करता था पहले is exercise. Then exercise, even walking is being considered as exercise, and that is very important. Sometimes it's difficult to go out in British weather. I tend to do is just eat inside the home. I'm fortunate I got a little bit about 5-meter long hall, and I just go up and down with the brisk and turn around and do about 15-20 minutes walk even inside the home. But if the weather permit, then outside is the best.
So, and also जब आप बाहर जाते हो तो कितनी देर?
No more than 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes anything between 15 to 30 minutes, but brisk walk.
अच्छा, जब हम यहाँ तो कंट्रोल कर लेते हैं, लेकिन जब वापस पाकिस्तान जाते हैं तो क्योंकि वो थोड़ा सा अपना माहौल होता है, देसी माहौल होता है, कुछ थोड़ा सा वो पंजाबी में कहते हैं कि चस्का टाइप आ जाता है, तो उसके बारे में आप थोड़ा सा बताएं।
जी, वो मैं भी जाता हूँ, वाकई सही बोलते हैं आप, वहाँ पे तरह तरह के खाने और तमाम छोले और पता नहीं क्या क्या चीज़ें पंजे के वो जो है पाए और ये वो, तो 30 डेज या 20-30 डेज से ज़्यादा तो आजकल तो जो वर्किंग लोग हैं वो तो नहीं कर सकते, तो कोई बात नहीं, थोड़ी सी बेहतियाती करके जो है आके 15 मिनट की वॉक की जगह जो है 45 मिनट की
सही है, जबरदस्त। अच्छा, एज यहाँ के जो सपोर्ट है, एज ए जीपी जो आपको सपोर्ट करते हैं, जीपी के अलावा भी कुछ सर्विसेज हैं? जी 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 जी।
मैं फॉर्चुनेट था, मुझे और किसी सर्विस की ज़रूरत पेश नहीं आई, मगर जैसे अभी हमें बता के गई है कि वहाँ पे हैं लॉट ऑफ सर्विसेज। जी जी।
तो आपने किसी और को मिले हैं जिसको डायबिटीज भी है और पहले आप नहीं मिले थे, या इन योर एक्सटेंडेड?
मेरी एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली में किसी को भी डायबिटीज नहीं है, मगर मेरी कम्युनिटी में है काफ़ी। यहाँ पे आई हैव टू वेयर माई हैट एज ए चेयरमैन ऑफ द लोकल मॉस्क। हमने क्या किया था डायबिटीज़ यूके के साथ, क्योंकि जैसे आपने आइडेंटिफाई किया है कि जो है नॉलेज एंड इंफॉर्मेशन एंड क्या बोलते हैं उसको, इंसाइट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। इंसाइट इज़ द ग्रेटेस्ट ऑफ ऑल, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोगों को पता ही नहीं है कि क्या होता है। तो हमने क्या किया था कि अपने यहाँ पे इनको डायबिटीज़ यूके टीम हैज़ बीन to our mosque twice, and they have done the screening, like those people who are considered at risk. So we promoted those events. तो एक event में 138 जो है वो referral हुए थे, जो they were wasn't aware of it, but जब उनका BMI उन्होंने calculate किया तो they were at quite high risk. So they were immediate referral to GP. There was another 50-60 who were at the borderline, and they were advised to consult their GP for further observation. तो ये events जो है ना, this is what we need, right? क्योंकि some of our community is hard to reach community, especially जो हमारे elders हैं, उनके लिए जो है ना, this is something which you can, they can't, वो बोलते हैं ना कि if people can't get to the well, then we have to take the well to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. अच्छा, आपने एक बहुत ही अहम बात की है कि आपने मस्जिद में ये आपने डायबिटीज के बारे में कोई सिलसिला रखा, तो how important is it? कितना ज़रूरी है कि ये इदारे जो है, चाहे वो मस्जिद हो, मंदिर हो, गुरुद्वारा हो, कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है ये?
जी अब बेताशा इम्पोर्टेंट है कि लोग जो है ना वो विद इन देयर ओन एनवायरनमेंट, विद इन देयर ओन कम्युनिटी, राइट, सो द प्लेसेस ऑफ वर्शिप आर पब्लिक असेट्स, and this is where real services can be delivered, and the awareness of the services can also be delivered. तो ये जो diabetes UK ना सिर्फ मस्जिद में ही थे, they will also come to local mandir as well, and we have a what's it called interfaith groups, and we have now cancer awareness programs is also going there, and we also have the Macmillan, all sorts of public health, right, is now tapping into these community assets. So this is where hard to reach communities are, और उनसे जो है ना उनको engage करना, उनको bring them into the fold. तो ये जो है ना ये एक चीज़ और करेगी Mr. Ali Beg, is that there is a huge gap, inequalities in health in terms of our South Asians. When I say South Asians, I'm including all three main communities, Sikh and Hindus and ourselves, right, into there. And there are tremendous inequalities, whether they are due to economic and social reason or deprivation or what, but nevertheless there are inequalities, and they need to be be addressed. And in order to have a vibrant South Asian community, health is important. It's extremely important.
हमारे जो youngsters हैं, उनके लिए क्या पैगाम देंगे?
यंगस्टर जो हैं, मैं भी यंग रह चुका हूँ एक दिन. इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट.
अभी भी ये माशाल्लाह
we all been young ones, and none of these can touch us, right? That's how we felt in those days. But today's youngsters are slightly different, contain different attitude. But I think the majority is still there, who believes that we are young and we're strong and none of these things can affect us. मगर जो है कुछ काफी शऊर वाले भी लोग हैं. और one thing is there in youngsters, they are very health conscious, right? A good majority of them, right? They understand the need for exercises, they understand the need for the balanced diet. But then there are few who will eat ice cream and McDonald's and pizza 24/7.
Absolutely.
So it is a difficult subject, because young normally do not come to the mosque, or they will not come to Mandar or so forth. But when they do, right, the message is there for them to pick it up.
आप सब कुछ और पैगाम आप देना चाहेंगे?
जी, ये कि मैं कोविड-19 के बारे में बताना चाहूँगा कि ये जो कोविड-19 जो है, ये वबा जो है, ये डायबिटीज़ जो है, जिनकी कोमोबिलिटीज़ हैं, वो वेरी लाइकली टू बी अफेक्टेड. इसी वजह से गवर्नमेंट ने जो है वो शील्डिंग प्रोग्राम जो है उनको प्रायोरिटी पे रखा है. और ये बहुत ज़रूरी है डायबिटीज़ वालों को कि वो जो है ये जब उनको ऑफर किया जाए कोविड-19, दे मस्ट टेक इट. फॉर मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी माय मैसेज इज इट्स सेफ, इट्स इफेक्टिव एंड इट्स हलाल. हमारी जो है वो ये जो है क्या बोलते हैं इसको, HMRA जॉइंट कमेटी ऑफ वैक्सीनेशन इम्यूनाइजेशन, उसने भी इसको जो है हलाल करार दिया है. इसमें जो है दे आर कंसर्न अबाउट द अल्कोहल इन द वैक्सीन एंड आल्सो द ग्लूटीन, बट दे आर बीन डीनेचर्ड. एंड ऑल्सो इस्लाम तो ये भी बोलता है कि आप जो है जान बचाने के लिए अगर आपको इन अशिया का भी इस्तेमाल करना हो तो वो भी ज़रूरी है. तो ये इम्पोर्टेंट मैसेज है कि जो डायबिटीज़ वाले हैं ज़रूर वैक्सीन लगाएं. मैंने खुद लगाया है, मेरी मस्जिद के इमामों ने लगाया है. हमने अभी जो है अपनी मस्जिद में जो है वो बुलाए थे ये मोबाइल वैक्सीनेशन यूनिट. इधर के लोकल मंदिर ने भी बुलाया था. 7 दिन उन्होंने वहाँ पे रहे, 9 दिन वो हमारी मस्जिद में. हमने जो है 1500 के करीब लोगों के जो है वैक्सीन लगवाए, और अभी तक हमें कोई भी रिपोर्ट जो है नेगेटिव रिपोर्ट जो है नहीं मिली है. So there's some scaremongering about the AstraZeneca vaccine, magar it is not backed by the science at all. जो वो बता रहे हैं condition blood clot, right? In UK 30 cases जो हैं वो तो ऐसे ही normally हो जाते थे even before COVID-19. So this is the evidence is not conclusive that the COVID-19 the vaccination is a cause of it. So we should not be alarmed. We should protect ourselves.
Arshad, it's very much my privilege to be able to talk to such a learned person of such high understanding of the subject. तो आपका बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ आज आपने ज्वाइन किया. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to get my message across.
Thank you, sir.
And stay safe and stay well. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Thank you.